Welcome to Power of the Tribe podcast. I'm your host, John Connors. I'm also the founder and head instructor of Connors Martial Arts in Norwood, Mass. We teach Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai kickboxing, and mixed martial arts. And if you listen to this podcast, you're going to learn some amazing stuff about jiu-jitsu, how to make your jiu-jitsu game better, and how to make your life better.
Right. We know for a fact that there are people, many people that listen to this that do not even do jiu-jitsu.
They don't. Yeah. And they find what they get from this podcast. It makes their life better.
Right.
Simple as that. And if they listen today, Dan, what are they going to find out?
Lots of stuff.
Lots of good stuff coming.
Lots of good stuff, because we're going to try. I don't know if people know this. It's a very special episode. We're going unscripted. No cue cards.
No cue cards. Episode 98, Dan.
Wait, is this 98 or 99?
I think it's not, or is it 99? Oh, I think you're right, Dan. I think it's 99.
Yeah.
Wow.
Next one's 100.
Next one's 100.
It's our all nude episode.
Whoa. Holy
was
smokes.
that, well, we're in the idea stage of how we're going to.
I'm down for that. Depends on the weather, but
yeah.
This is 99. And what's the date? December 4th?
Yeah.
2020.
So
man, what a year.
100th. So
100th.
Yeah. As we're talking to you, COVID is running wild again.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of second wave. Keeping my fingers crossed. But what are they going to get out of today's episode, Dan? What are they going to learn?
We've got a few things. It depends what we get to.
All
One
right.
of the first things, I just took it off an article I saw in Jiu-Jitsu Times.
Okay.
It was two guys named Eli Knight and a guy named Chewy someone. Chewy.
So Chewy runs a YouTube channel. I think he calls himself Jiu-Jitsu or something. He's got a Facebook group. So he's a really popular guy. I think he was down competing at the Nogi Pans when we were there. And I listen to his stuff. I check him out. He's really good. He has some good stuff.
And in fact, the title of this, which I'll just tell you.
So they were working together, these two guys.
Yes.
Because Eli Knight also has a pretty big YouTube channel, like 100,000 subscribers or something.
I think on this topic, they switched off for their channels. Like they did half on one channel.
Oh, co-promotion.
Right. So we're getting
clever
one of the channels.
Okay.
I only went to one.
Okay.
But the title was 5 Dick Moves in Jiu-Jitsu, which caught my eye. And I sort of thought it was a lot of times, I was just talking to you about this, a lot of times there's like a title that catches my eye.
That's a catchy title.
And I'm like, maybe we could talk about this. And then I read it, and there's nothing we can talk about.
Now, let me ask you some clarification, Dan. So this did you find this on Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook.
So Jiu-Jitsu Times, and were they publishing an article? Or was there a video in the article?
Yes, there was a video.
Video. So
Chewy
like
20-minute
and Eli Knight did a 20-minute video about dick moves.
Yes.
And did they also have an article where they described what was in the video? How did that work?
Just the video.
You got to send me that link. I got to check that out.
Right. And they were good. It was good.
Okay.
But it was not what I thought. What it wasn't just like, here are things you shouldn't do because they're dick moves.
Oh, interesting.
It was dick moves that are technically sound, and they're a little bit rude.
There's nothing to do with the anatomy that some people refer to as the dick.
It doesn't. No. It does not.
Oh, it was about impolite
basically
stuff.
Moves that are sort of, if you want to put it a little more, I guess, blandly, it's like moves that are sort of based on making your opponent uncomfortable.
Okay.
And I think they would be dick moves if you just did it to no purpose.
Okay.
Is the idea. And they were saying this. Like, it's not my insight. Like, they were like, if you do these moves for no purpose, it's really a dick move. But you can do them if you do them technically sound.
Well, Dan, I'm ready to weigh in on these moves.
Yeah, and I think we also know some more that they don't discuss.
Okay.
Right? Over the years I was
So I'm interested in hearing the move. So number one, what the move is, what Chewy thought about it, and what Eli Knight thought about it. Then I'll give my opinion. Were those two guys in agreement on most of the stuff?
Yeah. I'm not going to be able to say, here's what Chewy said and here's what Eli said. It's just, here's what they said.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Should we go?
Let's go, man. What's the number one dick move of 2020?
And I'll try to talk through a little bit because we don't have a video. I'll try to describe what it is. So from side control, what they call chin in cheek. So if you're you've got side control on someone, they're saying you kind of put pressure, against them as you always do.
Okay.
You put your chin, you kind of hook your chin over and kind of
Dig it into their cheek.
Dig it into their cheek.
And what did Eli Knight and Chewy say about this?
And you kind of squeeze their chin to your shoulder.
Okay.
And it can create quite a bit of discomfort.
Okay.
For the person you're happening to.
Yeah.
And now what they're saying, if you just do that, like all these moves, to punish someone, like just to make them, then it's sort of, then it's addictive.
Then you're a dick.
Right. They're saying another thing, though, if you do it, sometimes like they're hiding their hand. And if you do that, they'll instinctively, or even just not instinctively, but because they have to, bring their hand up to remove the pressure
from their cheek.
And then you can act on that. You can
attack their arm.
Attack their arm. Right.
That makes sense.
Or go north-south on that, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're saying, see this distinction here. I thought it was interesting. It's like if you're sitting there digging your chin into someone's cheek, they're going to be like, what the hell? You know? But if you do it, you sort of make the move. And then you grab the arm.
Dan, do you remember old-timey MMA fight? Who was that guy, the Smashing Machine? What was his name?
Mark Kerr.
Mark Kerr. I think he won a fight where he got a guy he was on top half guard or something, and he did that, but he put his chin into the guy's eyeball.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And the guy had a tap. Yeah. Some other really big guy, right? What was that guy's name? Do you remember?
Was it Paul Verhoeven's? Or?
No.
No,
it was another really big shaved head guy that was really big dude. Who was a wrestler as well, I think.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. But, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how he tapped the guy into the eyeball. That's really a dick move.
Chin to the eye. Yeah, sometimes you see people now, like, they'll put their fingers in a cut. And during, like, the refs will warn them. Even to this day, like.
That's not legal now in the UFC.
The refs will reprimand them. But I'm like, what an animal. Like, that's a weird thing to be able to do, I think. You know, like.
It's pretty vicious.
Stick your fingers and so, like. Televised fight for your living. It's not an alleyway. Like it just seems like an unnatural thing to do.
Dan, I went through a phase where I would get to side control on people, and I don't know if I put my chin in their cheek, but yeah, I would just drive my shoulder into their face and try to crack their skulls like a walnut. And I just got away from doing it. So, I think I used to do it before I started my academy, and then I was an instructor, and I'm like, well, I probably don't want to do this to my students too much because it'll just turn them off, right? It's a little unfair.
So here's the broadest philosophy of this entire topic is we've talked about this before, and I have with many other people that philosophically, I'm of the opinion that you really shouldn't complain about someone going too rough with you. Dan, almost no matter what they want to do.
Dan, I agree 100%.
If they're injuring you, a finger in the eye or something, that's a different story. But someone putting a ton of pressure on you or...
Dan, I agree 100%. I mean, it's martial arts, for God's sakes. I have to figure out a way to not let this person injure me. You know what I mean? Yeah, but if they're randomly trying to break my pinky off, that's going to annoy me. And I still wouldn't complain, to be honest. Yeah. I would just smash them. But, yeah, that's not cool if somebody's going to injure you. But if they're just making you feel uncomfortable, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Especially it's a 5-minute round.
Whatever it is. I don't care. Yeah. And if you do it long enough, none of that stuff really bothers you at all.
We talked about it. One of the examples that's not on this list was we tried another martial art that involved pressure points.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember during rolls, it was sort of accepted in that other martial art. They'd roll, but they didn't really know too much jiu-jitsu, too much ground fighting. And then you'd be rolling with someone and they would suddenly like jam a finger. They'd try to get a pressure point, like jam their thumb into your neck and start twisting it in some way. And I always sort of felt like, what are you doing? Like it was just sort of annoying. Like didn't ridiculous. Work, right? Like it's like there's a reason, again, you didn't see in the old UFCs or current UFCs anyone capitalizing on pressure points. Right? Like it just doesn't.
It's by and large nonsense. I guess if somebody is an untrained person, they might respond to it, but I mean, then you're beating up an untrained person. Like that takes no skill.
Right. Yeah. And the most common example, I think, in jiu-jitsu is the pain-based guard breaks. Like, you know what I mean? That's the most common thing. I think we were all taught. I don't know if people are still taught this, but back in the day, we were all taught if you're in someone's closed guard, one of the escapes was to just dig your elbow into their knee. You
know,
think
to the thighs, between the muscles of the thighs, that can be sensitive for some people. But after you train for a while,
it doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't work. It doesn't hurt at all.
That's what I was saying, because some people are like, well, it worked. They opened. And it's like, yeah, but you're going down a dead-end road with that, because pretty soon
it becomes ticklish. It doesn't even hurt.
Yeah, you're just like, or just annoying. Like I said, any of those things, it's like, yeah, that hurts, but
there is something about, think about Khabib when he fights. A lot of times he just wears people out and beats on them, and he kind of gets them to quit a little bit before he finishes them, right? I heard somebody say that. I don't know what instructor it was. They said tapping is ultimately a choice. So you're choking me, Dan. You got a strangulation hold on my neck, and I have to determine, I'm about to go out. I can't escape. All right, I'm tapping. So it is a choice at some level. So if you make somebody miserable enough and tired enough, they're probably going to make that choice sooner. So there's probably some value into this, making people feel a lot of pain and discomfort.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I started doing less of it in the gym because I wanted to progress. I didn't want to sit there for a minute digging my chin into a guy, and then I'm kind of missing out on training time, where instead, like, I'll try to isolate their arms or move to mounts, or, you know what I mean, trying to progress my position. So I think I've been doing less and less of it. But there's another famous competitor, Vagner Rocha. Do you know him?
Yep.
And I think he has a style like that. He said he learned to be rougher in MMA, so then he just tries to make things as uncomfortable and painful to people as possible, and discourage them as well.
Haven't you, every now and then you can hear audio of a fight where someone can't get up and they're getting pummeled, and the camera picks up, because usually they're fighting, you can't hear what they're saying, but these guys talk quite a bit.
Okay.
And there's audio, there's a few famous cases where you can hear one of the competitors, like the guy on top, beating on him, going, come on, tap, like, you're, you know, come on, like, give up.
Well, Khabib would do that. He would say, I need to be champion.
That's how you reminded me.
Yeah.
Khabib would talk to them like, you can't get up, and he said, you have to quit. Or
you know what flashed in my mind? An old fight.
Yeah, this is the example.
Tank Abbott versus Scott Ferozo. Right. Remember those guys?
That was a pretty good fight, actually.
It was a pretty good fight. So Tank was feared by everybody, and then he met this guy, Scott Ferozo, who was like, yeah, I'm actually a little bit heavier than you, and I'm not afraid of you. And I don't
like, he would take those haymakers from Tank, who would put people stiff.
Yeah.
And he would have like a big goofy grin after he got hit, and it was.
And I vaguely remember Tank's got him up against a cage, and back then the cage was like this flimsy chicken wire, right? It was ridiculous, and he's pushing this guy into the cage, and he's saying something like that. He says, "Just quit, just quit." And the guy, like, I could be wrong, but I remember him like lifting his head up and going, "F you," and like, just throwing a shot at him.
And there's one back then. It might have been GSP on. Was it GSP on Sean Shirk, or I'm thinking of a different story, or someone like GSP beat up Sean Shirk pretty good, but I might be thinking of a different story, which is, I know this one's true. The GSP was pummeling Sean Shirk, and they were like, said something like, when did you know you had him in trouble or something? And he said in that French accent, he was like, he made a noise like, when I hit it. And I was like, maybe it was just the first time I thought of them hearing each other making sounds of pain in there, because you don't really hear it when you're watching.
You don't hear
TV.
that very often. Even today, when you watch the UFC, Dan, where because of COVID, there's no audience, you don't hear guys make sounds of pain that often. I don't think it's a good sign.
Yeah.
If you're making a sound of pain, it's probably you're telling yourself a bad message, right?
It happened last weekend, right? Someone's shoulder went out.
I didn't see it.
And yeah, he was like shrieking like a.
Oh, wow.
Like I was saying, like a grieving widow.
Yeah.
It was just like, man, he must be in pain.
Yeah.
But then they snapped it back in.
I was on YouTube the other day, and this Bob Sapp fight came up, and I don't think it was that long ago, Dan. And he's fighting this giant, I think, Egyptian guy who wasn't as tall, but was like, he looked like a giant refrigerator, like one of those double door ones. But the guy didn't have that much experience fighting, and he grabs Bob Sapp and like an over-under and flips him to the ground, and Sapp just rolls through and gets on top of this guy. Just starts beating on this guy. And the guy's on the bottom, and he's making these sounds of distress that I've never heard. He's like, ah. Yeah. And it's almost to the point where I'm like, isn't that a verbal tap? What's going on?
Right, because the refs can stop it if they hear someone shrieking or.
He wasn't shrieking, but he was making like real sounds of distress, which was.
But what's the exact term that they're allowed? I think it might be verbal distress is what they're allowed to stop it. You know, like it's like a verbal tap.
Know. Yeah, but he wasn't making noise to any submission attempt. He was making noise to just like Bob Sapp lying on top of you, which would make most of us make terrible noises.
And Bob Sapp at this, if it was recent, he must have been like, "I'm winning."
He looked older. Yeah, he won, and Sapp ultimately won the fight
because he was. If people don't know who Bob Sapp is, this gigantic, he's 350 pounds.
Yeah, of muscle.
But he fought like Nogueira, and he like beat some of the best kickboxers. Like he was legit. And then very quickly after that, it looked like he was just throwing fights left and right. Like
hard to tell, yeah.
It was like 8 fights in a row. Like he would just get hit and drop to the ground.
But an impressive figure nonetheless, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I saw fights that seemed pretty disgraceful to me. Like it seemed like he just dropped, you know, as soon as he got hit. And it was like, what is that?
I think he got hit with, I think he was fighting Fedor maybe or Cro Cop. And he got hit, and he went down, and people were like, why did he go down so easy? And they found out he broke his orbital. Yeah. Like, he just hit him precisely in the eye.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Usually, when you hear people like, oh, that he went down, and he didn't even get hit, they got hit. I remember that was Rich Franklin beating Ken Shamrock, and everyone was like, he didn't even hit him, but it was like slow motion. You could kind of see Shamrock stepped funny, and he's twisted his ankle.
Oh, right.
And he got hit. He got clipped. And then also, it was Rich Franklin was brand new then, so it was like Ken Shamrock threw that to Rich Franklin, and pretty soon, within a year, it was like, no, Rich Franklin's 10 times better than him. Like he didn't throw that fight.
Yeah.
So people are too quick to say throwing a fight, but Bob Sapp got bad. Like he'd be in these tiny little promotions, just dropping down and tapping, like dropping to the ground and tapping, you know, and you'd be like, what is this now? Like, and I think he said something like, hey, you got to make your money, or, you know, something like that. Like he said quotes that were like, all right, you're not really, he's not what he was, you know. But you're saying he won maybe not that long ago.
He won, dude. And he fought a big guy, too, yeah. Yeah, and he absorbed a lot of punishment. The guy came out through a barrage of big shots, and he just shelled up. I thought he was going to get KO'd for sure. And he somehow survived, and the other guy was exhausted. So, yeah, it was one of those deals. Yeah, so I don't care if anyone's trying to hurt me or cause me discomfort. I mean, that's kind of part of it. We noticed, so Rory and our team, we've been frequenting this promotion called Grappling Industries, Dan. So they run grappling tournaments, but they're round-robin tournaments. So you can get a lot of matches in one day. It's pretty cool. So Rory, I think, has gotten at least 13 matches on several different occasions with these guys. So we really like going to their tournaments for that reason. But we've definitely found that people are easier to tap after they've had a few matches. Their first match, guys, can be difficult to get the submission on. But the fourth match, it gets a little bit easier.
I've noticed that myself when just in the gym.
And yeah.
Actually, I've said that before when sometimes people are like, well, hey, you felt good today. And I'm like, well, you're on your fourth roll and I'm on my first. So that's why I felt good. You know?
So I think part of jiu-jitsu is, and, you know, the Gracies used to do it. They would have these long matches, and you cook the guy, you wear him out, you get him tired, and then you finish him.
Right.
That makes sense.
So you should be getting used to it. And there's nuance too, right? It's not all black and white. Like if you're a black belt, you shouldn't really be punishing a white belt. Like, you know.
Totally agree. Yeah.
So it depends who it is. Or you're much bigger than someone, you shouldn't really be punishing.
Yeah, I'll occasionally train with some guys that I don't even think they realize it, but it's like in their subconscious, they have this monster, like this aggression, and they're elbowing me and trying to elbow me in the face all the time. Or they'll start to get their fingers start reaching in my face, and I feel like their fingers are searching for some soft, round tissue, like my eyeball, to rip out. And I don't think they're consciously doing it on purpose. I think they're unconsciously doing it on
just
purpose.
Part of their.
And I don't even mind that because it's martial arts. I just got to protect myself. I got to protect my eyes. I got to figure this out. So that's the first dick move. Shall we go on to dick move number 2?
Yes. So this is from the guard.
So you're in a person's guard?
You're in someone's guard.
Okay.
And the move is forearm in the neck. So it's just jamming your forearm, putting weight into their neck.
Yeah.
So again, if you're doing it just for no reason, just to make them uncomfortable, that could be like, why are you doing that? It could even actually be, as they pointed out, bad in that you could get armbarred, if you know what I mean, if you sort of leave it out there.
Or you could get arm dragged. They could go to your back.
Right. But they're saying there's certain cases where you could do it, like if they're holding you down, like some less skilled person, they're saying MMA, like maybe they wrap you.
Oh, yeah. You're trying to create some space.
You're just creating space to get your posture.
Definitely.
Right?
I don't think it's a dick move at all.
They actually said same thing from mount, if I'm remembering correctly. Like if someone less skilled, like especially MMA, they'll grab around your waist and just hold.
That's a good technique.
And you can just put your arm in their neck and they'll let go. One they didn't mention that I just thought of is that's a standard escape right for if you get side control but someone keeps a headlock on.
Yeah.
Right? Like you just put your weight in their neck.
Yeah, you want to do that. Definitely do that.
So I think it's totally, again, if it has a purpose and it's technically sound, there's nothing wrong with it at all.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah. I mean, if somebody does that to me in my guard, that's fine. I just have to adapt to it, figure it out, you know? And, I wouldn't care about that at all. No. Yeah. Right. I wouldn't even call that a dick move. I don't understand.
I think, again, maybe the idea is if there's no purpose at all. Like, do you know what I mean? Like you're just jamming. Again, I'm more with you.
But I'm like, you got to deal, figure it out. You got to deal with it.
Right.
There's a purpose. The purpose is to make you feel really uncomfortable and to make you deal with it.
Make you move. Yeah, make you deal with it.
You got to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that a dick move at all. Definitely not. I'm starting to think that I'm probably a really big dick, Dan, because none of these moves are objectionable to me.
Yeah, but I don't even do them as much.
I don't do that.
But also, again, it depends. But I really don't mind when they're done to me. Any of these things.
I don't at all.
Again, I'm supposed to deal with it. It's not a ballet class, as we're saying. It's martial arts, right?
It's martial arts. It's fighting. It's combat.
And again, there's nuance. It depends who you're with. Like there might be certain people, like maybe you don't get along.
Yeah, if you're a 250-pound guy and you're rolling with a 125-pound woman and you do that, you're probably a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, there's always issues that you don't, like maybe you don't get along with someone and you're a little more careful about, or maybe you want to punish them more, or maybe you just sort of don't want any heat. But I got along with some. I remember way back in the day, I might have told you this, that I used to take like these private lessons with taking a lesson at the same time as me was Romero.
Yeah.
And so Romero and I rolled hundreds of times. And part of the way we rolled together was being dicks to each other constantly. Like it was just like constant thumbs in the neck and knuckles across the spine and just elbows in the ribs and just like, it was just good natured.
Yeah.
I think it was good natured. But you know what I mean? We sort of laugh at, it was sort of funny to us when the other one was doing something dickish.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's funny. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it depends. Like for us, we could have done anything like that. It was funny.
Yeah.
I could picture rolling with someone where I'm like, they're not going to think this is funny. Like, right. You know what I mean? So you have to make individual judgments.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
Like this person's going to flip out if I do that. So, you know what I mean? Any gym's going to have its share of unstable people too. So you might be like, this person's unstable. Yeah. I sort of don't want them to have one of these fits where they're screaming and yelling. So,
And all our listeners, if they've been watching all our episodes, they're quite familiar with the Big Five personality profile.
Right.
Acronym of OCEAN, OCEAN. The N stands for neuroticism, which is another word for emotional variability. So you're going to get some people that are very emotionally variable. You probably don't want to do these techniques to them. Yeah. They'll probably lose their mind. Yeah.
So move number 3.
Yeah.
You kind of alluded to it.
Okay.
And you've heard it called this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The shoulder of justice.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you were referring to earlier, right? Like this is, you've got side control on someone and you basically hook their far armpit with your hand and just mash their face with your
shoulder.
shoulder.
Lean all your weight onto your shoulder, onto their face. Yeah.
You can actually get a tap from that.
You can. You can put somebody out if you get your shoulder under their jawline, so you can actually make it a choke, put them asleep. I went to a Roy Harris seminar like 20 years ago. Remember Roy Harris?
I do.
You do? And I forget where it was, but it was a no-gi seminar. We all went, a bunch of guys from Boston Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu went out there. And so he was showing you're on top side control. You're driving that shoulder in. So the guy goes to push the shoulder, and then you like do an arm bar or something. I forget. There was some technique after the guy tries to push that shoulder off, which is exactly what Chewy and Eli Knight are talking about here, where you're doing it to get a response from your opponent.
The idea is it's so uncomfortable. A very common thing they were saying is they'll turn away.
Something, right? So this wasn't turning away, Dan. This was somehow the guy would put his hand on your shoulder or something, and then you would wrist lock him. I don't know what. He had some good technique. It was a very good seminar. And so then we're doing the technique. We're drilling it. And then Roy Harris says, anybody have any questions? And some kid raises his hand. He goes, yes. And he goes, what happens like if he doesn't put the hand on your shoulder? And Roy Harris goes, I'm not sure. Come on over here. So the kid comes over, and Roy Harris leans his shoulder on the kid's neck, and the kid doesn't put the hand up on the shoulder. And in 3 seconds, the kid is asleep in 3 seconds. It was so funny. And then he wakes the kid up, and the kid's like, and then Roy Harris goes, any more questions? It was pretty badass, actually.
Yeah, it worked out perfectly for him.
Oh, my God. It was amazing. Oh, that's what you do if the guy doesn't put his head on your shoulder. You just put him to sleep. So
he probably wasn't even sure once that he was going to go out, but once he went out, he was like, now I'm going to hit him with any more questions.
Dan, I think it took like it's in my memory. I'm sure I'm exaggerating. It was like 3 seconds. This kid went completely unconscious, snoring the whole 9 yards. It was pretty cool. So that's what they're talking about.
So again, they'll react in some way. They'll give you an arm. They'll turn their back. They'll do something so you can.
And then if you're on the bottom of that, you have to learn how to deal with that. You know what I learned to do is I would just angle my jaw to meet the pressure that's coming in. So now the pressure is coming directly into my chin, and often that creates a certain discomfort on their shoulder where they don't just keep doing it, and they can't turn their head. And all
what I've also tried to do sometimes is just not turn due to discomfort. I think people reflexively put themselves in a bad spot sometimes if there's like pressure on their chin. Like I've seen people, I'm sure I've done it, but I've even seen in the UFC like real pain, like a choking arm across the chin.
Okay.
And people reflexively shake it loose onto their own throat.
Oh, right.
Do you know what I mean? Like it seems like this thing's crushing my chin. You know, the bone,
me get my
the
chin
forearm
out of
bone.
There
let me get my chin out of there, and it's right into a choke.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like just try to resist doing that. Like
Dan, I get a lot of rear naked chokes now where I'm not under their chin. I'm over their jaw, and I can just lock it up, and I just squeeze it back, and it's pretty effective. Yeah.
That sounds familiar to me. I think I've been on the other end of that. Because you jump it. I think I've seen you jump it from like, I think I was in Turtle or something like that, right? You'll go for a choke when someone's turtled up. If you
why
can
not?
Get it, right?
I'll take whatever I can get. Yeah.
That's when I think.
So now we're on
4.
Dick move number 4.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the simple elbow in gut, which is
where are they doing that?
I think it says here from mount. I'm trying to remember the exact. It says from mount or guard. So let me try to remember. It was like,
you're on top or bottom? I don't understand what's going on.
Oh, I remember now. So if they did both. One was say someone's mounted on you.
Okay.
And they're kind of searching for things like your neck.
Okay.
Or creeping up. They're saying, as a sort of delaying tactic or to help your position, you can put your elbow into their gut. Like if they're advancing, you sort of frame.
That's a dick move?
Frame, and then, and keep them away, and then sort of get a better position. It seems not dicky at all to me.
No, they're creating a frame. Like if the guy doesn't want discomfort, he just doesn't lean into it. That doesn't make any sense at all.
It sounds sort of elbow someone in the gut sounds sticky, but I think
it's crazy. First of all, I would never use the point of my elbow because then they can push my arm across and get to my back. That doesn't make any sense. But I'm going to have my forearm lined up across their pelvis to keep the space that I need. Yeah, that's ridiculous. I don't know who would do that from the bottom, and who's complaining about that. Like, you're mounted on a guy. Come on.
Yeah.
Stop being a baby.
He's got his own problems.
Yeah.
He's got other problems.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
All right. And then the old fist in neck. And this was just a matter of, like,
come on now.
They were the example they were doing this is if you're getting past and you sort of want them.
Say it again, please, Dan.
You're getting past.
So the guy's passing my guard?
Yes.
Okay.
And you use it for a moment to sort of get them, get
to
them
post away.
To post,
yeah,
and then try to regain your guard.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. There's nothing dickish about that at all.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, like they can just back up. They don't have to lean into your fist. That doesn't make any sense. It's very funny because I saw an interview with Vagner Rocha recently, and he does things like he pushes like on the neck or throat instead of posting like on the shoulder or the head. Sometimes he does that, and I think people are less acquainted with it in training, so it might throw them off psychologically. They might be like, "Oh, what is he doing, grabbing my throat like that?" But he's not really grabbing their throat. I don't want to mischaracterize what he's doing. Yeah, I think
again, fists in the neck, isn't it? Aren't there Ezekiel chokes?
Yeah, I do that.
Just a fist right in your neck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't think there's anything dickish about that. Yeah, I used to do a technique where, say somebody was mounted on me. I think my son early on used to get really good at Ezekiel chokes. So he'd be mounted on me, and he maybe when he was a white belt, early blue belt, trying to Ezekiel choke me, and I would just take my knuckles and rub it into his rib cage in the right area where he would flinch, and then I would save me from the choke. So yeah, that's ridiculous. That's not dickish at all. We got to be able to think of more dick moves than this.
I got some of my own. That's the last of the list, but this was one that I thought that wasn't mentioned. What do you think about this one?
All right.
This seems a little more dickish to me than their list to me.
Okay.
Which is you're being guillotined.
Somebody's guillotining me.
You.
Yeah.
So you kind of lift them up, lift their back up. You go to one side so you can slip your hand under.
Oh, yeah.
And you put your fist down.
Oh, yeah.
And then you roll their spine back onto your fist.
Oh, yeah.
And that hurts, and that can often get them to let go.
I don't think that's dickish. Yeah, they're trying to choke you unconscious. Yeah, Dan,
I sort of feel a little bit like if you can just stop choking me and get out. So
Dan, I used to do that not when they guillotine me. If I was in their closed guard and they like overhooked one of my arms, then I would just do that. Then I would just position my knuckles right on their spine. What are those little appendages that come off, the bony pieces that come off the spine? There's got to be an anatomical name for those. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would put my knuckles right there. Yeah. Most people are going to let go of that overhook really fast when you do that. You can even double up, get like that C grip like this, and just like roll them right onto that. And, they're not enjoying that at all.
So your vote, again, is not dickish.
No. I used to do that all the time. Yeah. I will do it every once in a while just to get a rise out of somebody, just for the fun of it. Yeah.
That's sort of back to what I was saying earlier. If it's someone who's going to, people are going to notice if you roll them onto your knuckles.
Yeah, so I used to do that on their spine, or you could move it over, kind of do it on their lung, like the lower part of their lung, and you get a good response on that too. I was rolling with one of these students.
Knuckles to the lungs.
Yeah.
Sounds like a slightly dickish move.
Yeah. I don't think so. So I was rolling with one of these guys, a blue belt with us. I probably shouldn't name him because he probably won't like the story, but he's a good guy, and he was a rough character, Dan. Don't get me wrong. He used to he'd get a hold of your head. He was not letting go for anything. And he was on the bottom of side control, so I used to do this thing where I would let the guys roll up on their side a little bit, and then I would take my top arm, like near their head, so I'd put it on the other side of their head, and then I would line my arm up along their back, and then I'd roll them back. So now my forearm is going down their back, like behind one of their lungs. And for some reason, if you did it at the right moment, it felt really uncomfortable for them. And they couldn't breathe. And so I did it to this guy, and he got a little ticked off. He goes, you put your arm under my back and then roll me back over. It's like I couldn't breathe. And I was like, yeah. I go, yeah, it's cool, isn't it? He didn't see
That's also a little bit funny where it's like you did something that made it hard to breathe. It's like, yeah, we're doing a sport that has like chokes.
It's hard to breathe when you're getting strangled too. Yeah. He didn't care for that. He got upset. He considered that I was being a dick, and I didn't really. Because then I was thinking, boy, there's a lot more painful things I could do to you, bro. Than that,
right,
you know.
I disagree with. Again, I think we're on the same page that we don't really find any of these to be dick moves.
Yeah.
I think again you have to use common sense about who you do it to, and it's almost like I would almost do it opposite ends of the extreme, like of the spectrum, where it's like people I'm friendly with that are gonna laugh it off that we're doing this, and then the other end of like someone who's like really being vicious toward me. Like if I'm caught in a guillotine with someone who's trying to rip my head off, I'll put my knuckles under their back. Like I'm like I forget this.
If that helps you, yeah.
He's trying to rip my head off. I'm gonna do whatever I can to get out. So,
how about this, Dan? I had a student. I'm gonna sound like a dick here, but I mounted him. But he was a guy much bigger than me. I mounted him, and I crossed my feet underneath his thighs. So it was almost like a grapevine. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And I used to do this. I stopped doing it. And then I would arch into them in a certain way where they couldn't breathe right. And then I got a tap just from that mount position. Is that a dick move?
No.
Right? Like, of course not, right?
You're trying to get taps, isn't it? Yeah. That's the sport, right?
Just from pressure. Here's another one. So Vagner Rocha does this one competing. He puts his hands over their nose and mouth. Like he'll get back control and he'll do that.
That's a good one. That's a good question. Is that a dick move?
I don't think so. I mean, like you said, it's fighting. We're trying to make something, and you don't have to panic. And
that can feel horrible. But that, you know who used to do that to me? Paul Rowe. Like maybe the nicest guy.
He used to do that
in the history of the gym. Isn't he not possibly the nicest guy in the history of the gym? He's in that running. His name would come up,
Dan,
if you were voting for nicest
If you
guy.
made me guess who did that to you, I would never have guessed Paul.
You could have guessed 100 people.
I would have guessed 100 other names before I came to him.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was again in the spirit of like me and Romero, where like
he was just messing with each other.
Yeah. He was laughing, like he was laughing in that he was like, it's sort of a dick move, so it's sort of funny.
Yeah, I don't think it's a dick move, and I think what it does is it disturbs the other person. Then I think it allows him to get underneath their chin sometimes from it because they might lift their chin a little bit in response.
I have another one, a potential dick move.
Okay.
That you just reminded me of getting underneath someone's chin.
Yeah.
If you're behind someone.
Oh, right.
You can put like a knuckle in their nose.
Under the nose.
And lift up.
That's pretty harsh. Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah.
And if it takes you by surprise, you'll lift your head because all of a sudden you got a knuckle in your nose.
Yeah.
I don't do that. That one seems a bit dicky to me.
I tend not. I don't do that one. No. Sometimes I just pull their forehead.
Yeah.
You can get a powerful pull sometimes doing that. But I haven't done under the nose thing. But, I mean, if it's an MMA fight, you should probably be doing that, right?
It's hard for MMA, sure. Or competition too, right?
Yeah.
But in the gym, I have trouble seeing who I have the relationship with that I'd feel comfortable doing that because...
Dan, you could do that to me. I wouldn't mind.
No way.
Yeah.
See, that's the other side of it. If it's someone who's going to make you pay for it.
Right. Oh, that's right. When I say I don't mind, it doesn't mean
you'll be like, that's fine, okay.
Right? Yeah, now I get to do stuff to you.
Is this what we're doing?
What is that scene from Cable Guy, Jim Carrey? Oh, prison rules.
Yeah.
Right. They were playing basketball. Prison rules.
That's what I just pictured.
Yeah.
That's like, it reminds me of when I...
in a way, Dan, that's right. I like it when people do this weird, painful shit to me because now I have carte blanche to come back and do whatever I want to them. So it's pretty cool.
So that's what I'm saying. If I'm way better than someone, I'll feel weird doing it.
Oh, right.
If someone's better than me, I'm like, well, now I'm not sure I want to open the can of worms.
Did I interrupt the story? You're going to say way back?
Just you reminded me of like when I was in the boxing gym.
And
there was a guy he was a professional boxer. And it was I had been boxing like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I was brand new. And I remember like anytime he'd be battering me, and if I just like would flail, I'd hit him with like one hook. He'd be like, "Okay, all right." He'd say that out loud, and I'd be like, "Oh my god,
he's gonna kill me!"
Exactly. Suddenly, like my hands just coming up, like, "Oh shit!" Like
that's really funny.
That's what it reminded me of when you said like, you got to think. In the boxing case, it was not fair because it was like I'm supposed to box you, right? I have to box you,
right?
And then But with jiu-jitsu, you have these, when you have choices, I feel like I'm not going to do anything to rile someone up.
Yeah. Dan, here's something that truly might be a dick move. You ready? Mm-hmm. It's a little bit more subtle than we're talking about, but I'm sure you'll recognize this situation. The guy that comes in and goes, my back's really sore. I tweaked my knee. I just want to take it easy today. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, just flow roll. And you go, okay. And then they grab your ankle, and they jump back, and they try to break your foot off your shin.
Yeah.
That is a dick move. And it took me, 15 years or so where I never fall for that anymore. I'm like, oh, yeah, we'll take it easy. Yeah. And that's when I'm on my most guard.
Now, is this a dick move? Because I use this one.
Okay.
Where I'll be like, let's go like 30%. And then I'll just go all out.
Yeah, that's not only.
And if they're getting better than me, I'll be like 20%. Let's
not only is that a dick move, it's the dopiest thing I've ever heard. Like, yeah.
People say go 50%.
No, I love when they say 30%. Yeah. Like, how can you calibrate that?
That's I'll go ridiculous. 34%.
So ridiculous. I had a situation where one of my students, he was a blue belt, did that exact scenario where he's got to take it easy, and this kid was a maniac, and then he grabbed me in a footlock, Dan, right? And he had me dead to rights. He had his feet covering me. I was screwed because I literally took him for his word that we were just going to take it easy. And he was wiry strong, and, man, he was pulling my foot as hard as he could. And I just was like, no, I am not going to give this guy the satisfaction of tapping me. He can break my foot, and I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to limp out of here, or going to sit here until everyone leaves and limp to my car. And I'm never going to acknowledge this. And it took me like 5 minutes. I finally got out of this goddamn ankle lock. He started getting tired, and I got out. And I didn't get injured, but, man, it was so hard. And then he didn't come in for a few days. And then he came in, and I was like, hey, what's going on, bro? How you been? He goes, yeah, I screwed my arm up. He goes, I think it was the other day when I was trying to ankle lock you. I hurt the muscles of my forearm, and I was never really so satisfied. Oh, yeah.
One of your most satisfying jiu-jitsu. Like
my greatest moment in my martial arts career.
Winning worlds, or?
It eclipses worlds, yes. What a dick, man, that guy was. Actually, he was a good guy. He's just a maniac, So that's a dick move. Do we have any other dick moves we can think of?
I had just thought, what do you think of this one? I like this. Like arbitrarily coming up with some sort of rule before you, sort of like saying, let's go 30%. Like before you go, no taps on this one. Like to someone that's much better than me.
Yeah.
Like we're not, no submissions.
Yeah, that's nonsense. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. Yeah, I don't think it has any value. I think if you have two people that are sufficiently unmatched in their abilities, then just do some positional training. Just put the person who's advanced at some disadvantage and go from there. Like,
what about relentless, ruthless neon belly?
I don't give a shit about that. Yeah, you got to learn how to escape neon belly.
I think you should.
Yeah,
learn to deal with it.
Definitely. Here's one, Dan. Neon face. Yeah. What do you think of that?
That one's rude.
It's a little rude. I don't really mind myself, but same thing, you got to learn how to escape. But it usually happens when somebody has an advantage physically and technically over somebody else. Then they start doing the neon face.
I would not complain if someone did it to me.
I would never complain about anything.
None of these things we've said I would complain about.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
I think I told you, I might have brought it up on the, I know I've told you, but I don't know if I said on the podcast where one time someone flipped out because I was just trying to guillotine them and I couldn't finish it.
Dan, I know exactly the guy you're talking about.
And I couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
And so I was like getting like, why? I thought I had it in pretty good and I was really getting frustrated.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why can't I finish this? And he was a higher belt than me.
Oh,
too.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was like, really trying, so I'm like really squeezing the crap out of his neck, sort of being like, why can't I finish this? And so then I let it go. You know what I mean? I was like, and I wasn't exhausted. But I was like, I can't finish it. So I let it go. And during the roll, he turned red in the face and he said something like, that's how you want to roll. And like, he got like, his knee on my belly, and he was like digging his knee into my stomach.
Trembling in anger.
Yeah, trembling in anger. Like, but he was a higher belt than me, but he was lighter than me.
Yeah.
So he was like furiously digging his knee into my belly, but it didn't hurt. Like
didn't hurt.
It wasn't uncomfortable even. It wasn't interfering with my breathing at all. So he's like angrily digging his knee in, and I'm just sort of looking up at him like, "You all right? Like, why are you're this mad about the guillotine?
You mad, bro?"
Yeah, exactly. I was just, what is this? And then the round ended, and I'm like, "Are you all right?" Like, then I had.
Dan, let me answer the question for you. No. He was not all right. He is not all right. Yeah, he was.
You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, and he's not at the academy now. But I was sort of like, I tried to make peace. I said, like, are you mad or something? And he was like, no, it's fine. You want to roll like that? We're going to roll like that. And I was like, well, calm down, man.
I was trying to guillotine you. How dare you, Dad? It's so silly.
Plus, it also annoys me. I've said this, too. Like, I feel like for everybody out there, you earn sort of a reputation at the gym after a while. And suddenly someone's like, you're rolling really too rough. And it's like, yeah, well, no one has said that for 5 years. So,
oh, right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's sort of like if no one says that about you for 5 years and then suddenly someone.
You need a preponderance of evidence.
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Yeah. How about things that aren't dick moves, but they're just super annoying moves? So it's a new category. Super annoying, right?
But we're not saying.
They're not dick moves. Yeah. Here's the one. I'm wearing a T-shirt underneath my gi. And they go to do a cross collar, and they grab my T-shirt and my gi. You know what I'm saying? And they start ripping the collar out of my T-shirt. And I'm like, so you don't want me to have this T-shirt anymore? You really dislike this T-shirt that much? So that's annoying.
Like you can't just let this go. And
yeah, I'm going to stop. I'm going to let you regrip. But nope, you want that T-shirt in there as well as my gi. What do you think about that? Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, I haven't ripped someone else's T-shirt.
But has somebody done it to you?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Let go of my T-shirt.
It's annoying, right?
Yeah.
Kind of a. What about?
I mean, because in my case, I think they knew for sure they were ripping my T-shirt. Like if they didn't notice, all right, what are you gonna do?
I think they get so excited that they can't process it.
Yeah, maybe.
Then there's the guys that are always grabbing your skin with your gi.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Pinching your skin.
Yeah.
It's just a little annoying. It's not a dick move, right? They're just overly excited. You can't complain about it.
Yeah.
Like, Dan, you're a martial artist. You're pinching me.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah. Like, so you can't even complain about it because it's just not cool, right?
And then everyone out there has been, I think, on both sides of scratches. Where you're like, it's annoying when someone scratches you, but I think I've accidentally scratched someone before, too.
It can happen accidentally. Yeah.
Like,
I got a guy scratch me the other day, Dan. He puts his hand on my neck, and then he changes the angle, and he just rakes his fingernails behind my neck. And I'm like, how do you not know that you just scraped the back of my neck? You had to change the angle of your knuckles to do it, right? What's going on there?
And
some passive aggression
and then
coming
like
out?
you said, they seem to get in some mindset where they don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
And they're just like, they don't go, oh, sorry, or something like that. Or
I didn't complain, though, either. In IBJJF rules, you're not allowed to put your hands in the person's face. You're not supposed to touch your face. I think it's a pretty good rule. Because I was just rolling with somebody the other day, and they were putting their hand on my face a lot, and I'm smelling their hand, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be tasting your palm, dude. I mean, you're going to make me up my tempo here if you keep needlessly putting your hand on my face. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, like you said, it's not really helping their position either, I was training with the great Scotty Miller. I miss him. He's the best. And he was like doing this wrestling thing where he was like tapping me in the head and face. I think he might have been standing and I was doing like a sitting guard. I was sitting there. And then he must have did it 12 times in a row without doing anything else. And now I'm like, now I'm getting annoyed. So then I swept him. Now he was sitting down. Then I started tapping him in the head like this. He goes, oh, you're doing that thing that I did to you. I go, yeah. What do you think? He goes, yeah, it's pretty annoying. I go, yeah, it's pretty annoying. He's the best, though. He said he's going to compete next year. I'm so excited. I think he's going to do amazing. Man.
Is he training now? You just said you missed.
He's not training now. He's laying a little low because of the COVID, but I did talk with him, and I expect him back in like 2 weeks. So I'm excited to have him back in the classroom again. with this on Brady too, hopefully. So I'm looking forward to that. So what else is annoying? How about you're training no-gi? So I've seen this where a guy has rash guard shorts. He's all no-gi. The other guy has like a rash guard and maybe gi pants. And the no-gi guy starts grabbing the guy's gi pants.
Yeah, right.
It's a little bit like, it's not a dick move, but it's a little annoying.
The
it's
only
like, what are we doing, no-gi or gi? What are we doing here?
The only thing I'll say is sometimes I've done it accidentally, and then I try to let go.
Try to let go.
But like you instinctively, like in the heat of the moment, get a grip, and then I try to let go. So I've done it accidentally, but I think I've been pretty clear. When I do it, I'll let go. And most people are like, oh, don't worry about it.
Here's another annoying but not a dick move. You're sitting like in butterfly guard, and the guy comes running at you on his knees and stomps your foot with his knee. Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah.
It's kind of annoying. Again, not a dick move, just annoying.
Not on purpose either, I don't think.
I've noticed, Dan, that some people do it more often than others. You know what I'm saying?
Some people are not paying as close attention.
Some people have a higher rate of accidents than others, you know?
Yeah. And like we said before, you get in the heat of the battle, and then I told a story in here of someone we know, one of the best guys at the gym, but years and years ago, just turned in just full force violence, elbowed me in the eye. That's huge. I had a black eye for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like just smash. I thought it might have broke my orbital. That's how.
Okay.
And it was like crack, and I was like, oh. And then it was like, there's like a pause, and he's like, oh, did I get you? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't feel that thud at the end of your elbow?
I mean, I think people around us like looked over when they heard the impact. You know what I mean?
Oh, man,
just
yeah.
Like, did I? I'm like, yeah.
I had a version of that where somebody kneed me in the head, and it made the sound of like a baseball bat on a coconut, just like bonk, and I'm like, my teeth rattled, and then the round in it, I was like, that was a pretty good knee. They go, what are you talking about? I go, that knee that hit me in the head. They go, I need you in the head? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, your knee is probably swollen now. You couldn't have hit me harder with that thing. But they get excited, so they don't notice it. That's another annoying one. How about here's another one where you're like in kind of half guard, and they like put their shin like across your shin to like staple your shin down in a really painful way, but then they don't even pass your guard. They just sit there, and you're like, you can go to side control now if you want, but they don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I think some of the worst pain I've had of that is like instruction. Where like Marcelo with his like super bony leg is like just like super steel-like leg is like, so start the pass, and he like puts it across my leg, and then he stops to talk for like, he's like, and then and I'm like, oh.
I had a guy do this one, Dan. He was passing my guard, no gi. I kind of open guard. I'm on my back with my knees open, and they are standing, and then they just do a knee drop onto my groin with the inside knee, like their full body weight. And luckily I had a protective cup on, but I'm like, huh.
But again, that even if it's an accident, it's like aren't you being very careful to not do that? Like that's how I feel about it.
I don't know
if
I've ever done that to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you should really be like, I'm not going to drive my knee into his groin.
So again, annoying, but not necessarily a dick move. Nothing I would ever complain about.
I had one, and this
I'll tell you this though, Dan. If I'm rolling with somebody and I'm taking it easy, and they do a few of these accidents, then I'm going to pick up my game and I'm going to dominate them, because I'll get tired of them accidentally doing these weird things to me.
Right? Or just reasonably, you could be like, I don't want him to do that anymore. I'm going to put him in a position where he
can't do that to me anymore. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We don't all have that luxury of putting people in the positions that we want.
Right.
But yeah, so none of it's really bothered me.
Yeah.
Like I got annoyed at that guy who had the fit, but it wasn't cause of the knee on belly. It was like because he was basically accusing me of rolling.
He was a very temperamental person. Yeah. He was high neurotic, we would call. Yeah. High emotional
variability. Yeah,
variability.
Trouble with some other people in the gym too.
That generally happens, Dan. Those people that have those outbursts, they tend to have.
Well, again, I'm not trying to pat myself too much on the back, but if you're going to have problems with me in the gym, you're probably going to have problems with someone else in the gym. And it's not trouble picturing someone just getting mad at me.
No, you're a good training partner for sure. Yeah, very conscientious, definitely. So Dan, I think we covered all the dick moves.
We did. And we basically, was the summary that we don't believe that any of these are dick moves?
Exactly.
Almost any.
Almost none of them. Just don't injure me. Just don't bend one of my fingers back. You can try, and I'll escape, and then you'll regret trying. Yeah.
One quick thing I said about that is in this other martial art that we both did, there was this big guy who you also know, and he was like, oh, I've learned some very effective things in here, like some moves in here really work well. And he's like I learned this works. And this guy's like 260, would you say?
Yeah.
And
powerful.
Powerful.
Yeah.
And he's like, so now watch what I learned is, and he just grabs my pinky in the conversation and twists it up. So I'm like, like it's like all the way twisted back. And he's like, now if I have this grip on your pinky like this, I can control you. And, it's a pretty good kind of control. And I'm like, yeah, I could have told you that. Like, I don't think I needed the martial art.
Oddly enough, Dan, he could have done that to your skull. He could have grabbed your skull and twisted it like that.
The whole hand. But the idea was that I'm also like, you didn't know that if you grab someone's pinky at your size and like big meaty sausage fingers, I'm like, this was news to you, that if you at your size grab my pinky and twist it, I'm going to be in a bad spot.
I'm cringing thinking about it. Yeah.
I was sort of like, I don't think we needed the class. And then he's like, and anyway, I'm talking, and I'm like, trying to continue the conversations. I'm like holding my finger, which hurt for the next 2 weeks.
I could see that. Awesome.
Anyway, it's a martial art.
Suck it up.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Yeah. Protect yourself, but suck it up. But try not to be a dick with your training partners. Just try to. Here's the mantra we've been beating over the head. Just develop yourself. Just try to get better. That's all that matters. Yeah.
And I also think maybe the bottom line is, if you're going, is that a dick move? It's probably not. I think if someone does a real dick move, it's pretty obvious. You know what I mean? You're like, that was a dick move. Like it's just really straightforward.
Yeah.
If someone does something so
egregious. But get so good at jiu-jitsu that you can just smother them and make them take it away from them. Yeah. So they can't do it. That's really the goal. All right, Dan, we should wrap it up. And folks, if you want more great information about jiu-jitsu and about life, I think we're going to learn some life lessons in this one, Dan.
Yes.
But either one of these things, please subscribe to our podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel right now. Hit that little bell to get notifications. We're going to put together some great videos for you. It's going to make your jiu-jitsu game better and make your life better. And tell your friends about us, and we'll see you next week.